Hello Fischer fans, welcome back to the series of my 60 memorable games by Robert James Fischer, and in this video we are covering the game number 6 from the book. The title to this game by Fischer is given a small oversight, and we'll see in the game what he means by that. But Fischer is only 16 years old. The game is played in 1959 in Argentina against a very strong player, Ruben Shocron. So let's dive right in the game and see how Bobby Fischer shocks Shocron. So the game starts with e4, again Fischer's favorite. And in the previous game, we saw the Sicilian defense being played against Fischer in order to test his e4. But now we see e5, and let's see how Bobby Fischer tackled the e5. Knight f3, knight c6, and he plays his favorite bishop to b5, the Ruy Lopez, also called the Spanish opening. The idea is to put a little bit of pressure on the knight on c6 so that the knight is actually able to take the pawn, but not immediately, as Shocron actually challenges him to go on and take the knight. And if Fischer takes the knight on c6, then he would take the knight back with the pawn, and then the queen's access to the d4 square is, there, so that knight takes on e5 does not work because queen d4 hits the knight and the pawn. And if knight goes back to f3, then queen takes on e4 comes with a check. And black is a little bit more comfortable. As you can see, the bar actually goes down. This evaluation bar helps us know who is better, who is winning, who's losing. If the bar goes down, it means black is actually getting better. If the bar goes up, that means white is getting better. So we are including this bar in our videos. So let me know in the comments, guys, if you like this inclusion or dislike it. So I appreciate your feedback a lot. Okay, so the idea is to drop the bishop back and keep that pressure on the knight on c6, and then now knight f6, just developing the knight on f6 so that you could castle. Fischer castles, bishop e7. The other way was to play bishop c5 and use it as an attacking piece, but bishop e7 is a more solid and positional way, so that when you play d6, the bishop on c5 would never find its way back to the defense. So bishop e7 is a more solid, positional, and defensive style of playing the Ruy Lopez opening. Rook e1, now defending that e4 pawn, which was hanging. By the way, why not knight takes on e4 right now, which is also fine, but rook to e1 would just, put the rook right next to the king. And here, this knight is under attack, and you cannot go d5 in order to protect the knight, because in this position, white would actually just play bishop takes on c6, and when pawn takes on c6, white actually plays d3, kicking the knight back, and only now taking on the e5 pawn with the knight, and white is actually better here. As you can see, the bar actually goes up, bishop e6, and then knight takes on c6 is the idea. So this is the way, this is the reason that you don't take on e4 just yet, but bishop e7, and now rook e1 defending it, and now b5, kicking the bishop back so that bishop is never able to take that knight now. So bishop drops back to b3, and we see that theme in Fischer's game that he always wants to put that bishop on that light square diagonal, hitting f7 always from b3. And now Shocron actually decides to unlock his bishop. It goes d6 and wants to play bishop g4, but now c3. Fischer wants to play the bishop back to c2 in case knight h5 comes, but not only that, he is also controlling the d4 square. So bishop g4 is not combined with knight d4, putting a lot of pressure on that knight, which would be pinned after bishop g4. So first castle, just, avoiding all kind of attacking nonsense. So just castle just gets away with it. h3, controlling g4, so that bishop g4 is never possible. And now knight h5, hitting that bishop. And bishop drops back to c2. Bobby Fischer would never, ever, ever, ever trade his light square bishop with that knight, which is sitting dim on that rim on a5 square. So bishop definitely drops back to c2, and now c5. One of the idea of playing knight h5 is to, free that c pawn so that it could go up and grab a lot of space on the queen side. But now Bobby Fischer decides to go d4 and breaks open the center by that move. The knight, the queen, and the c pawn all supporting that d4 pawn. Now queen c7, a very common Ruy Lopez move, so you want to make that square d8 available for one of your rooks to land on, so that they are x-raying the queen. Knight to d2, again, that knight is on its journey to that f5 square. Very common way of going to that f5 square. Knight b d2, knight to f1, knight to e3, knight to f5, knight to g3, knight to f5. Everything is possible, but this knight actually, since it cannot go to its natural square c3, so it goes to d2 and finds that route to that f5 square. Bishop d7, knight to f1, rook to e8. He wants the other rook to go to the d8 square, so rook to e8 makes perfect sense. Knight e3, and now g6 is very important to control that f5 square. And now Fischer takes on e5, d takes on e5, knight to h2 with the idea to go knight g4 and trade some of the pieces on the king side. Rook to a to d8, queen f3, bishop e6. Now he improves his bishop. Now it sees more life on that diagonal, and also this rook is very active on the d file. Knight to g4, just trying to initiate some trades on the king side. And I encourage you guys to pause the video and think about how would Bobby Fischer capture, with the pawn or with the knight. Definitely not with the queen, because bishop is, watching that knight. But what would you recapture with? Okay, I hope you guys found the correct move in this position, which is h takes on g4, because Bobby Fischer is coming up with a beautiful idea here. He could have taken with the knight, which was completely fine, but we'll see what Fischer's idea is. So first of all, queen to c6, putting a little bit more pressure on that e4 pawn. But now here we see the Fischer's idea, g5. Making that g4 square available for the knight, and this g5 pawn is going to be clamping down on these dark squares. But you might ask, what if just bishop takes on g5? Isn't that a free pawn? Why is Fischer offering a free pawn? But now there is a move that Fischer would play, which is knight d5, and suddenly this bishop is under attack. So if you, for example, take the bishop on c1, then knight to f6 check is going to be very strong for Fischer. If king to h8, then there is this always h7 pawn, which is going to be weak. So first of all, rook, we have to recapture the bishop. Knight is not going anywhere. It's nicely protected by the queen. So let's say you play a normal move, just bringing that knight back into the game. Then there is also there is this rook hanging first of all. So let's say rook f8. We have to play a sensible move, not a normal move. And now queen g3 is the move. Keeping pressure on that e5 pawn. Also, just developing the queen to that g3 square so that it can join the attack. h3, king g2, rook h1, everything is coming. So Fischer is basically generating a very powerful attack. It's not a crushing attack, but black needs to be really precise here. So g5 is a very interesting move by Fischer, and Shocron actually does not play bishop takes g5. He thinks that if Fischer is giving me a free pawn, I should not take it, because he's Fischer. He's a strong player. He's offering a pawn. He must have thought something about it, so he's not taking it. He's going knight c4, and Bobby Fischer is welcome the knight on c4. Like Shocron, you're just you're letting your knight on c4, putting a lot of pressure on my queen side. All right, do it, but I'm just focused on your king side, and I just want to checkmate your king. So Fischer actually goes knight g4, and now his knight is ready to jump into these dark squares, h6 and f6, with a very menacing attack. So Shocron is not there to just let Fischer attack. He just grabs the only move, bishop takes g6. Otherwise the knight was too dangerous, just going on to those weaknesses on h6 and f6. Fischer takes back. Now knight goes to b6, and Fischer actually plays g3. He wants to play king g2 and rook h1, queen h5, and attack on the h file. So we'll see why knight b6 was also played. But first of all, Shocron actually closes down the position. If your opponent has a bishop pair and you do not have a bishop pair, try to close down the position. Trust me, try to close down the position, because bishop pair hates closed position. They find very less activity, and the knight loves closed position because he's able to jump over other pieces and find beautiful outposts where he'll be putting a lot of pressure. So now Fischer continues with king g2, knight goes to d7, knight wants to go to f8, because when the knight is on f8, there is no mate. h7 is protected by the knight on f8. Rook to h1 forces the knight to f8, and now b4 by Fischer, and Shocron offers a queen trade, queen to e6, but Fischer drops it back. He does not want to trade queens. He's an attacking player. He wants to attack, keeping the queens on the board. But now Shocron actually decides to sacrifice a pawn, because he will be getting back in a few moves. Brings the queen over and takes the pawn back. Fischer goes a4. Shocron plays rook a8. Fischer takes on b5. Queen takes b5, and now rook to b1. So all of a sudden, Fischer's rooks are super active on the a file and the b file, and he switched his attention from the king side to the queen side. Queen to c6, and now rook b6, hitting the queen, coming into the position with tempo. Queen c7, and now rook a6. The rook was hanging, so if Fischer took the rook on a8, Shocron would take the rook on a8, and he would control the a file. Fischer says, no, I am the controller of the a file, so he goes rook a6, takes. Now, the rook from a6 is not only controlling the a file, but also the 6th rank, which is very crucial. He will be using that 6th rank for the attack in a couple of moves. So first rook c8, he wants to play that rook a little bit more for activity. He wants to control some of the squares on the c file, but first of all, Fischer actually plays queen to g4, just putting an eye on the rook so that the queen is never able to leave that square. By the way, point of rook c8 was to, somehow keep an eye on the c4 pawn, so the queen is not doing this little job of, imagine the most powerful piece doing a simple job of defending a pawn. Nobody wants that. So he wanted to move the queen from the c7 square and make his rook defend that. But now, beautiful move by Fischer, queen g4, keeping an eye on the rook on c8 so the queen can't move, right? So first of all, 96, cutting the connection from the queen to the rook so that the queen can now move. But now a beautiful move by Bobby Fischer, which is bishop to a4. Bishop was not doing anything. It was doing one job, which was to protect the pawn on e4, but nobody's attacking it. So what the hell is the bishop doing on c2? It's not doing a job. It's not doing a legitimate job. Bishop on a4 is doing one hell of a job. It's controlling all of these light squares, making moves like rook c6 possible, and is now a very powerful piece. So Shocron goes rook b8, first of all, and he puts his rook on the open b file where it will be finding much more activity. And this is the moment, guys. Bobby Fischer in this position plays a beautiful move. I encourage you guys to pause the video and find the move that Bobby Fischer plays in this position. I hope you guys found the insane rook to c6. Insane. No, it's just kidding. It's just a normal move. I know you guys, sometimes you just need to find simple moves as well. Rook to c6. I thought you guys would think that, oh, it must be a sacrifice. No, and you always have to find these kind of beautiful moves. I gave it a double exclamation mark, but I should just take it off. But it's just a simple move, but it's also very powerful because it forces queen to go back to d8. And as you guys can see, the bar shoots up in the air. So that means Bobby Fischer is winning now. And now, I'm not pranking, I'm not kidding. Actually, Bobby Fischer played an insane move, a beautiful move. I hope you guys can see that move now, which is rook takes on e6. And we should give this move a double exclamation mark. And he played it for real. I'm not pranking. And the point is that if you take with the pawn, Bobby Fischer would take it with the queen. And as you guys can see, the bar is all the way up. That means Bobby Fischer is winning, and he must have calculated it. The point is that if king goes wherever, if king h8, then the queen would take on d4, e5 with check. King f8, queen would still take on e5 with check. There are threats, king h8, check, taking all these pawns. Let's say, king goes back to g8, but then there is bishop d4, and you're threatening to mate. Bishop f8, but then queen h8, and you're just again taking everything. So, where do you go? This is mate in 3 already. So, this is very crushing attack. Bobby Fischer's bishop here suddenly finds a lot of activity. So definitely winning for white here. But the point is, and this bishop, by the way, would also just join the attack after, let's say, you take here, Bobby Fischer would take, and let's say king goes to f8. There is also bishop e6, bishop d5, and this attack is going all the way. And the point is not that, guys. The point is, does Shocron not see? Like, he's a strong player. He's a strong player so that he's eligible to play against one of the greatest players of all time, Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer would never want to waste his time playing a noob. So he plays Shocron, who's a very strong player. And Shocron does not see that Bobby Fischer would take the knight and is winning. The point is, Shocron prepared a beautiful idea, queen to c8. With the idea that now your rook is pinned, and he would take on the next move, and the queen is not taking on e6 since the queen is defending it, and that's what he thought. Bobby Fischer shocks Shocron with an incredible, shocking move, and this is out of this world, guys. I encourage you to pause this video and play the move that Bobby Fischer played in this position, forcing Shocron to resign. And the move is bishop to d7. Boom! Double exclamation mark move. The idea is that you're attacking the queen, and the queen just has to go back to d8, and Bobby Fischer would be up a piece, because if queen takes on d7, then the rook is no longer defending the queen, and rook takes g6. Discovered attack on the queen is possible. Small oversight. That's what he meant by the title of the game. And this is a beautiful combination that Fischer plays. And remember when we talked about the importance of bishop a4, making it super active? In the end, it is just useful. So Bobby Fischer makes these useful, active moves constantly improving his pieces so that they are able to find themselves involved in these beautiful tactics. And this is what we are learning from Fischer's game so far. We saw in the previous games as well. Bobby Fischer using the activity of the pieces, building a superior position, making tactics favor in his side. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, and any kind of improvements that you guys think I should make in my videos. I would always appreciate and respect your opinion. So thank you so much for your time, guys. I hope you guys learned a lot from this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment and share. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye.